Awesome. Looks like we are online. Great. All right. Hello, everybody. Okay, so this stream is going to be kind of building on top of what we had yesterday. We basically had this little Go app, and then we added Fiber and built out a very simple API that didn't do anything. And then we also added Cobra, a sister package to this Viper package. So Cobra allowed us to basically split off commands to, like, we can break up our app into like services and things like that. And then with these different services, we can use the Cobra to like build up certain commands. So it's not necessarily like tied to the API. Cool. And then today, what we're going to look at, or at least try to play around with, is some sort of configuration. And oh yeah, also we're going to look at live reload for Go apps. So this is just like improving the developer experience. As soon as you make changes, yeah, just kind of like the node workflow, just much faster to get stuff done. Cool. So there were a couple people chatting last time about Go ENV config, and I actually really like it so far. But I am keen to use the Viper package because it's written by the same person. Yeah, that did the Cobra one. So Cobra Viper. Anyway, cool. So let's get started. What should we do? Should we go with Air first or Viper first? I think one thing we can look at with Viper potentially is like maybe like the database configuration. Oops. So in our database, let me make this a bit bigger. Yeah, so our database just has this like DSN string, and I think what we can do as well is like for Docker Compose, we also have all of these environment variables, and maybe there's a way to like combine everything together. So yeah, what would it take to do that? I mean, I'm wondering if we just grab these environment variables and put them in a .env file, and then also load that .env file with Viper. And so I need to look at Viper because I haven't looked at it before. Oh yeah, so it's pretty cool because you can read YAML. Yeah. And then the really nice thing, of course, is it plays super nicely with Cobra. So, cool. Let's go and get the package. I'm going to copy and paste this. So we'll go get Viper. And then down here, let's create a new file, .env. And then we're going to basically grab these environment variables. And we're going to put them in there. And I believe what we can do in Docker Compose is just use like an env file. Yeah, something like that. And so it cleans this up nicely. We need to think a little bit about how we would do this in production. Because in production, you'd basically like, you would never want to check in anything, and like, we're not gonna check this guy in. So actually, let's add it to the git ignore. That way we don't worry about checking it in. So for production stuff, we need to think about how we're gonna like get secret environment variables and place it in. But for right now, let's just go one abstraction above, just hard coding it. Okay. So now we've downloaded Viper, and let's just see many Go projects. What is Viper? Okay, so it does support ENV file. It looks like this is optional, so I wonder if we can just grab this. Okay, let's just try to grab that. I'm still getting used to this Z IDE. Okay, so when we create our new database connection, let's just try to like read in the configuration and go from there. So let's do run API. Okay, cool. Config file, config not found. Database go 14. Okay, let's see. Read in the config file. I mean, do we need to add this? Why wouldn't it just automatically try to pick up a .env file? Automatic env, that looks promising. Is there a separate documentation page? Yeah, we definitely don't want to use this IO reader potentially. I mean, let's see, Viper. Automatic env. What does this return? No value used as value. Really? Okay. So yeah, it just didn't return an error command. Let's see if we could do like viper.getString or something. Or yeah, viper. And then what's the name of this? PostgreSDB. Let's just log this to make sure we're getting what we expect. Oh, there we go. Automatic env. The one thing about Z, I wish I could command click into this, but I think since it's not finding the libraries, let's try go mod tidy. Okay. Still having trouble opening it. Case sensitive, okay. Let's go to the good old Googles. So, been writing professional software for 12 years. Still just Google most things, if not everything. Okay, see, this is interesting. This is nice to map it to a config struct. Load end variables. Okay, cool. I've never seen this map structure before, but let's at least do these two things. I wonder if it's not happy because of the directory structure. Can that be right? Yeah, it's still not happy. Set config name. It must be because... Okay, will that work? No. Okay. Well, I do like what they did, so let's kind of follow what their example is, because I do think it's cool to have a configs package. See, it's kind of annoying I can't use just... Let me change this to local.env. Let me go to the git ignore. Change this to local.env. Local.env, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And now in database... Don't worry about that. And now we can basically just call this load environment variables. Maybe config. It needs to be capitalized. Oh, I guess this is what they did. Okay. Init. Oh, it's just a variable. Okay, cool. All right, so we're making progress here. C.database name. Wow. There we go. Finally. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is nice. I'm not sure how I feel about this indirection. Oh well. All right, let's add the other ones. So we have Postgres user and Postgres password. User password. And I think that should just work because we have everything. Okay. Nice. So Copilot doing the wonderful nice things for us. The host. We could just do localhost. Okay. Database user. Database password. And then DB name. And then what else do we care about? The port. I mean, port, test. Okay. Comment this out. Cool. Now we can go to our API. Okay, we're still getting the API call back. That calls the service. Oh yeah, okay, so we actually want to run the get product. Run API. Okay, let's add another API handler in here. Okay. All right, let's update the service. Service get product. So let's add that. All right, and we did a pointer for that product. All right, cool. This looks like an empty product. ID 0. Okay, let's do a CDB. Okay, there we are. And so the CDB actually uses, this command actually uses the database. It actually uses this database.go. Yeah. So we create a reference to the database, like a new DB, and then we call seed on it. And so there's actually products in there now. Let's run this API again. Call product. All right, there we go. Okay, ID 1. Awesome. So I think I think I like this so far. This env configs. I'm still not 100% sure about this whole pointer thing. Like, I mean, why not just expose? Anyway, it seems fine, but I do like the fact that I can just have this like type safe way of pulling all those variables in here. And then the nice thing is, of course, like if we ever use this, you know, we're using this config now in database, right? And so potentially what we could do is like, it's getting into the weeds a little bit, but we could pass like some sort of config in to like the new database, and then leverage that. And so if we ever wanted to like pass a different config for whatever reason, like if we're mocking something, we could just pass that in and not worry about it. Like, yeah, we could just pass that in. And so I think that makes sense. Okay. What else? I'm still a little hesitant on this whole GORM DSN. Like, why can't I just put a database URL? You know? Like, database URL would be cool. But anyway, their docs, I don't know. I was going through their docs last night and just having trouble with the GORM docs. I don't know. Maybe it's just like not enough sleep, but anyway. Okay, so yeah, we basically added this configs.go. Sweet. So the next thing on the agenda was to look at this live reloading. It's kind of interesting because when you're developing kind of just one thing like an API and you want to have that API hot reload, that's cool. But since we've broken out a bunch of functionality into these various commands that leverage just our services, this whole like onion layer architecture stuff, we kind of have to think about like, you know, how do we build up this air stuff that hot reloads? Like, what do we actually care about doing here? Because, you know, we don't want to like continuously run this like cdb command, right? And it's going to be kind of interesting to like always have this API that's being refreshed if that's not even the part of the code that's being tested. Like, for example, we have this run report command, and, you know, we don't need the API for that. So anyway, I think what I'll do is just for now at least think like, okay, for the most part, we want the API to be running by default. Maybe there could be like different air config files for different things, but just have the API run by default. What do we think about that? All right, cool. So let's go install air. Go install a curl. Okay, we prefer the install.sh, I guess. Okay. Users twink open air. That makes sense. Can we run the air? No. I bet that I bet this is not my path. Yeah, I bet that's not my path. So one thing that we did at work actually was we put a bunch of stuff in Docker, like what they're saying here, and then you have Docker Compose, and Docker Compose you build up like your database and your project as well, and you use that whole volume, and have this Docker system like link that volume for you, and it's never been slow. You know, even like if you're adding new files and stuff like that, that virtual file system, it's never been slow. The one nice thing about it is you can have your Docker Compose file just like instead of just Postgres for us right now, we would have it be like, a little Linux Alpine image or something, and it would have, you would have your Postgres and then that Alpine image, and the Go code would be referenced. And so like you'd be developing your API within Docker, and the air process with that is kind of nice. And then you don't actually have to have Go installed locally on your system. You could just like spin up Docker and all that stuff handles. It's like, it's all handled. You don't actually need Go. But I have Go installed on my system, and I guess I'm a bit old school and I like having the actual code running on the actual system. So, yeah, I think for me for now, it makes sense to keep doing that. So, not the Docker solution. No such file or directory. That's super interesting. All right, go down the list. Seems to take much longer now. I'm kind of curious. Just a simple install script, huh? Okay. Still not found. That's so odd. That's so odd to me. Okay. How do I go 101? What is GOROOT for me? Cool. I don't have GSH over here? What's going on? I mean, there's go format. Okay. Yeah, so here's all the normal Go stuff. think I messed something up when installing Zed and configuring Go. I think that's what happened. Oh, wow. Yeah. Thanks, Entropy. That is super useful. Go mod, go catch. All the Seago flags. It'd actually be cool to do some like Seago interrupt. It's just unreal. Okay. How did we get here? This is literally not a directory. Okay. I thought this was exactly what I copied in. Hmm. No, that's not what I want to do. Temp directory. Okay, that's right. Okay, error sets up a temp directory. That makes sense. Okay. I'm surprised. Yeah, I think it's because on my other machine I have ZSH set up, and here I don't on this one. And I don't think I ever went through the GOPATH, GOROOT stuff. And so now that I want a Go program to run as like a local program, well, it is a local program, but that's where I'm messing up here. Okay. Okay. Let's try to do. I'm wondering if I just move this bit binary. Or same article. Great. All right, all the things. This is like all the part of development that's like not writing software. Like just getting simple stuff set up. Okay, cool. Okay, let's try an air init. Air.toml. Great. I think this is, yeah, okay. So they give you a default, which is really nice. I'm gonna get rid of this. All right. Temp main, so go build. That's the command. Oh, okay. So I think you just pass the arguments in. Like, is that it? Is it really that easy? Okay. I wonder if we can just do run-API. No way. Okay. Finally, we are cooking with fire. Finally. Yeah. Okay, cool. API is working. So let's go into the API. Okay. Gorm, the interesting thing, I don't know much about Gorm. I'm not a Gorm expert, but if you just change these models, Gorm runs like auto migrations in the background, and I'm not quite sure what happens if we hot reload models. I'm not sure what happens. So models has changed, building, running. And now if we just refresh our API, it's there. So the auto migrate has happened as well. The auto migrate has happened. I don't think we're calling auto migrate anywhere else except in the C database. So how is this black magic working? Yeah, in database, we're just opening it. And then in our services, yeah, we're not calling auto migrate like again somehow. So somehow it knows to make that change. Actually, no, I'm being crazy. So yeah, this struct is just getting rendered to JSON, and it's just putting this as an empty string. Okay, the database has not been updated. I bet the database has not been updated. Let's go check that really quick. That would make more sense. Now, if we put that auto migrate inside of our like API, yeah, I bet that would be. There's products. Describe products. Okay, cool. So the database has not been updated. Okay. So that could be like something that could get us into trouble. Yeah. But since we're running the API, I think what we maybe can do, it's like such a hack right now. Okay. The thing is, like, now I'm like worried. What if I commit code and this is going to auto migrate? Which maybe for like apps starting up, it's not the worst thing. Yep. There it is. Skew text. Okay. Cool. All right, so it took a super long time, but we basically have accomplished everything we wanted to. We can run air. We can hot reload our API. We pass the arguments into the API. In our case, our app is not the API. It is kind of like a CLI that takes a command to run an API. Since everything's split up and decoupled so nicely, it works out pretty well. I just want to see one other thing. No such file directory development. Start history. Is there a way to do multiple? I think this is what the init creates, right? Okay, this is interesting. Pre-command and post-command. Did we have that? No. I guess it doesn't just add in things that would be useless. Yeah, so pre-command and post-command, that's pretty cool. Very nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, I am kind of wondering now that we've had this whole like Go snafu, if it might not be a bad idea to convert our project to run the app in Docker Compose. It's really just like, I mean, if it kind of depends on like team size a little bit. If you have a lot of developers, a lot of different machines, and everybody has like a decent machine that you're not worried about the overhead of the Docker system, like for like running the app, then I could see it, because you basically would have like one compose file that sets everything up, downloads all the exact same versions. Yeah, I could see it. Yeah, I could see it both ways. All right. Oh, this is cool. Stop on error. Delay. Awesome. Okay, cool. Let me go into the README. Recap. Yeah, so I posted the previous video on like getting started with just like a Go app with Cobra and Fiber for all this command stuff with Fiber. Let's go check that out. And then had these notes of needing to look at these environment variables. So let me just add in here Viper. Added Viper. And then they're just going to quickly add And then I need to look at, isn't Copilot so nice for just like comment stuff? Like how does it know what I want to comment? But anyway, yeah, Dockerizing the whole app. Yeah, I think that's the only thing that I'm really interested about fixing with this current, how the current thing is. Next time we're gonna start getting into like actually doing some authentication, and a lot of people would definitely say like never roll your own auth, and that's super wise advice. But we're doing this stuff to learn. We're not doing this for production, and so I think there's a lot of like benefits into kind of like getting into some of the API nitty gritty for authorization. Yeah. So I think next time will be more of like an authentication. We might explore some HMAC in there as well. Yeah. Like we could do like HMAC for like IoT devices. HMAC IoT devices. Actually, so like there's been stuff going around the internet about like passkey based login, which I think is super keen. There's a few websites that let you create like an app, and then kind of like Auth0, and you set up a bunch of configuration, and then you just have like passkeys for logging in to your app. And so we would need to think about our front end for that, but there is back end components to that as well. Like how cool would it be, you want to run the CLI and you have to like, I don't know, like, verify with a passkey, or, like verify with like face ID or touch on the laptop or something like that. I think that's very interesting. So this kind of ties into that, but anyway, cool. Well, yeah, thanks for watching me trudge around and figuring out how to do very basic Go stuff. It's been super fun. And yeah, we'll do more in the next stream. So catch y'all then.